Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you guys are having a really great time here at TEDxBritishSchoolManila. So let's get started. But before I actually start my presentation, I have a kind of mini game. So this is encourage participation if you want. So on the screen right now, I have an email from Meta. And many of you have seen similar emails before, like if you tried to sign into your Facebook account from a new device, something like that, and they tell you that some device has tried to sign in, and whether you want to verify your account if it's you or not. Now, some keener folk in the audience might have noticed some errors in the email, like no mention of the name, and that might start to ring some warning bells for some of you. But this is where the participation comes in. The question I want to ask you is, who would have clicked? Who would have clicked on this email? Please raise your hand. This is like an honesty policy. I can see some people in the back enthusiastically raising their hands. So now, some of you may have guessed what the topic of my presentation is about, and others may have seen the post of our lovely TEDx team. And what I'm about to discuss today is about cybersecurity. In particular, cyber hygiene, which is a subset of cybersecurity, which is about keeping your systems and devices healthy online, and to protect your data and your privacy. Now, the title of my presentation is actually Cyber Hygiene 100.5, because, like in college classes, 101 is the most basic level, like biology 101, psychology 101. This is a bit more than basic, but this is something that everyone should really know. Now, why should you care? Everyone has heard the term cybersecurity, especially if you own a business. That's something only IT people should care about, right? Like, you hire a high IT team for that reason, or people in the tech industry. So why should you care? Many different organizations have been attacked by these threat actors, and this is why cybersecurity is important, especially for people who own businesses. It can cost a lot of money if you become a victim to these attacks. It has cost billions of dollars to certain companies, and it ruins your reputation, and you can lose sensitive data that you cannot regain anymore. Now, other people in the audience might be thinking, well, I don't own a business. I might be younger. Why should I care? This is why you should care. Because if you have used any one of these, cybersecurity is of the utmost importance to you. The first one is Gcash. Everyone's starting to pay through Gcash. So you have money on your device. It's not just for bank transfers. It's not just using your credit card. The constant use of Gcash whenever you're paying for Grab delivery, or if you're paying for a certain service, just scanning a QR code, it has financial repercussions if your device gets hacked. Next would be Bluetooth and the microphone and the cameras. Getting hacked will impact your privacy. People can get access to your microphone, your private conversations that you probably don't want anyone to hear about. Even worse, for some people, they can get access to your camera and they can see what's happening around you. And that's a horrible breach of privacy. Lastly would be a router or Wi-Fi. I do not believe there's a single person in this room who has not connected to a Wi-Fi network before. If you think that you getting hacked only affects you, then you are wrong. Cybersecurity is and always has been a group effort. Getting hacked could impact your family members. It could impact your friends. The I love you virus in the early 2000s, some of you may remember that. It sent emails through contact details, in which those emails, when they download the file attached, it had malware in it. So it got sent to your contact information through the email of a single person who decided to download it. So now that we've established why you care, let's talk about the different threats that actually exist in the cyber field. So one of the main threats is malware. There are over 1 billion types of malware currently existing. And malware is any software that's designed to disrupt the normal functionalities of your device. So I think the more layman term for malware is actually a type of malware. It's called a virus. That usually spreads with user action, but there are countless different types of malware now. There's the Trojan, which disguises itself as legitimate software. There's ransomware, which some of you may be familiar with, the business owners, where they hold your information ransom until you pay them a certain amount. But this is software. How do you get software on your computer if you don't download it, right? So many threat actors have realized this, and so they found a way to get you to download their malicious software. And that is through social engineering. Social engineering is manipulating the human aspect, because many threat actors have realized that humans are the weakest link. Why would they go through the hassle of trying to hack your device with layers and layers of encryption when they could just send an email to someone and get them to click the link? That's all they have to do. So there are different types of social engineering, but some of the most common ones I think you guys have heard of, the phishing links or pretexting. That was the slide that I first showed, which was a phishing email. So phishing is designed to get information from someone through made-up scenarios and stuff. So that's how social engineering works. Now, how do you protect yourself? So you know the threats, you know why you should care, so how do you protect yourself? And there are hundreds of different types of protocols that you have to go to get proper cyber hygiene. But I'm just going to focus on the things that I find essential. So how do you protect yourself? There are 5 kind of rules of thumb that I like to use. First is do not click suspicious links. Second is do not download software from untrusted sites. This goes to everyone who has ever downloaded a free version of Photoshop because they didn't want to pay for Adobe, or anyone who has used the free streaming sites because they don't want to pay for Netflix and Hulu. There's someone at the back raising his hand very enthusiastically. And then the third would be to use strong passwords. Fourth would be to use really good cybersecurity platforms. Like this goes for antivirus, VPNs, firewalls, because these are really designed to protect your information. And fifth is to update all of your firmware, your routers, your software. When your laptop says update and shut down, please click update and shut down. There's a ransomware that went around in 2018. Some of you may have heard of it. It's the WannaCry. And I still see some laptops to this day that are still affected by it, even though they already patched the vulnerability. What happens is they find a weakness, that's why they give an update, so that they can fix the weakness. So if you do not get the update, then you're not benefiting from the expertise of other individuals. So first of the points that I would like to focus on is how to make passwords. Because that's the first thing we all think about when we think about cybersecurity, right? The first line of defense, if someone gets your phone, oh, you have a password, it's fine. So how do you create good passwords? I know many of you probably already know this. Special characters, use a number, use capital letters. It's become repetitive at this point, to the point where there is an online game called the password game to make the most complicated passwords. But how do you create an actual good password that's memorable? All of us have hundreds of passwords, I bet. So how do you create one? So how I like to personally create passwords is I like to use a lyric from a favorite song. Even better if it's in a dialect. So like, if you can flex your bilingual skills by using Spanish or Filipino, name a famous folk song like Bahay Kubo, and write that down, and then change the capital letter. Let's say I change the capital letter B into an 8, and change all the O's into zeros. And you have a good password that's memorable. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, when I get home, I'm going to try that trick. And then you kind of recall that I mentioned we have hundreds of passwords, and you're going to have to change all of them, and you don't want to do that. So what do? It's normal cybersecurity practice to have good passwords for everything, change it every 3 to 6 months, but we all know that's not practical. So use good passwords for the important accounts. Use it for the things that are like Google or Facebook, social media that have private information. Use it for your Netflix account that connects to a billing site. Use it for those. And then you can use your generic passwords for everything else, every non-important thing, where you just add an 8 to the end of your password once the password portal asks for a number. So you have a good password. That's okay already, right? So you have a good password, you should be safe. No, actually. As I mentioned before, cybersecurity is a group effort. And sometimes the group effort fails. So this is a site that, if some of you want to picture it, this is a pretty cool activity. It's a site that checks whether your data has been in any big data breach compromises. So one example would be if you used your email to sign into Canva before 2020, your account information, like your email and your password, will be somewhere on the internet being sold because they had a big data compromise. Now, what you do to solve this is you just change the passwords of accounts linked to Canva, and you change the passwords that are exactly the same as your password in Canva. Now, I talked about passwords enough, right? So let's move on to scams. Now, many people here might think, oh, I know how to tell a scam. You just look at the link carefully, see if there are any misspellings. I know not to click phishing emails. They're very obvious when you get a text scam that says you won the lottery. It's very obvious. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes, no matter how hard you scrutinize a link, you won't be able to tell if it's a scam or not. And I don't think there's a single person in this room who has checked the letter of every single link they were ever sent. So, how do you tell if it's a scam? Well, a good rule of thumb is to never trust and always verify. So what you have to do is, there are a few warning flags that have to raise whenever you see certain things about like an email or a text. First is time frame, urgency. Almost all of these scams have some form of, you have to do this within 24 hours, 48 hours, or your account will be unavailable anymore. We're going to cut you off. Because hackers or scammers and threat actors do not want to have to wait 10 years to get a tiny amount of money. So, and second would be money or private information. Why are they doing this? What do they want? Why are they making these scams? Because they want something. And normally that's financial information, or that's private information that they can later sell as a block. And lastly, they're contacting you. If there's a surefire way to check if it's a scam or not, it's to contact the person who you think is contacting you. Let's say you get called by your bank and say that, oh, there was a data breach, you have to update your information. Okay, I'll go to my bank. Go to your bank, check if they actually have a data breach, and even better, tell them, can I do it physically instead of online? It's just certain precautions you have to take to protect your data. Because we can all tell a scam, but that's the point. If we scrutinize it, we can tell it. But if we don't, we can't. And that's what they do. They make you panic. They make you rush so that you have to make the decision now. And lastly, would be about social media. Now, some of the parents here might be thinking, yeah, my kid needs to hear this, right? So social media is not just a kid thing. Almost everyone here is on social media, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. We're all there. And there are some things that you have to know when you're putting this much data of yourself online. First of all is privacy settings. There are some social media sites or apps in general that track you outside of the site. Go to your settings, check what they have access to, just so that you know. Second would be to make sure you're not oversharing. like everyone here shares so much of their lives online. You don't want to share that much of your life online to strangers, right? Like some of you may be thinking, oh, only my Facebook friends can see it. Oh, only my Instagram followers can see it. But so many people just accept follow requests if they have like 1 or 2 mutuals. It doesn't work that way. You're giving your information to strangers. And this is in the cyber field. And to keep your devices safe, people don't just need to know your password. They don't even need to guess your password if you're putting so much of your information online. This, on the screen, are Apple ID security questions. These are how to manually reset your Apple ID if you do not have your password and if you do not have your 2-factor authentication. What's the first name of your best friend in high school and what's your dream job? How many of these can be found from 10 minutes of scrolling through your social media page? They don't even need to know your password. They can just manually reset it. And not just in terms of cybersecurity, but also in terms of personal safety. The hashtag AATM, away at the moment, when you're on a 2-month vacation with your entire family, that's very dangerous if people get access to that because they don't even need to hack your device. They could just break into your house and steal your device and your TV. When you get home, nothing's going to be there. People need to realize how dangerous it is to not have cyber hygiene. So, that brings me to the end of my talk. But cyber hygiene is not a one-off decision. It's not something you're going to make by the end of this speech and go home and say, oh, I'm going to apply it in my life. Cyber hygiene is a constant decision, and it is a group effort. Implementing cyber hygiene in our lives is not just about protecting our data. It's about protecting our identities, our privacy, and our digital essence. It provides a crucial shield between us and the ever-evolving threats lurking in the cyber field. It's about providing for our safety and the safety of those around us as we enter into this digital age. Thank you.